pull up the stock price of Jet Airways to see how much it has slumped in today's trading session as well. Look at that, 7.7% gone already, and of course there has been a lot of buzz with respect to who is it that's going to be rescuing Jet after the kind of misery and adversaries the company has been facing with respect to its debt crisis. Etihad has submitted bids with no conditions. They want to be minority partners. That's the update that we have at this point of time. Etihad is keen to shell out close to about 1,700 crore rupees. The onus is now on the lenders to find a majority investor. So clearly, the resolution plan with Etihad's expression of interest may be, making some headway, but really, what essentially they want to be is a minority partner. They want to only pump in 1,700 crore rupees, and that is made pretty clear to the management at this point of time and to the lenders led by Consortium who are holding the majority stake at this point in time. So clearly, resolution perhaps will take a tad bit more longer. Mr. Mark D. Martin, the founder and CEO of Martin Consulting LLC, is joining us on the phone line to talk to us about the Jet saga. Mark, hi. Thank you for coming on board. 1,700 crore is what Etihad is looking to invest into Jet at this point of time. Still wants to be a minority stakeholder, and the bankers will now have to still continue searching for a majority stakeholder to pick up a largest chunk and to pump in more monies. But let's talk about Etihad's view at this point of time. Do you think it's a good idea?
Morning. Thanks for having me today. I see an exciting day with the market, keeping all you guys busy. The point of Etihad is very clear. They themselves are in quite a stiff financial position, and they've had probably the worst last 3 years financially. Their P&L, they've been booking losses. So I don't see Etihad's propensity to buy much. I think they're just looking at this as a value deal, and if they can get the deal cheap, then it obviously makes a lot of sense. 1,700 crores means absolutely nothing. That will not even cover your fuel expenses and the money that you need to pay airports as parking charges for the year. So it's unfortunate that they're looking at a minority stake, but I do believe that the roadmap will indicate some sense of a ramp up as you go along, and it's very crucial and critical to find a good India partner who is willing to support with at least with some level of initial funding. They can possibly look at a fund, or they can look at an individual investor, or anybody who's pretty much keen to get into the aviation sector now. So the next two to 3 weeks are extremely crucial.
Right, but generally when you see such biddings coming in the way it's happening in once the operations shut down, it becomes very difficult to gain market share once again.
Oh yeah. The ramp up you need, especially with bringing your fleet up to some level of quantum, takes time. You don't bring it's impossible to get your fleet up and come to your 130 aircraft level in 3 months. It takes you at least 12 to 15 to 16 months, and we've seen that before. SpiceJet was in a similar situation in 2014-15 when they came down from 57 aircraft to 5, and it took them 2 years to come back to where they are. So, Jet is pretty much in the market competing with anybody, especially with lessors to crack deals and get aircraft back on the fleet. So, I believe it should be at least 36 months for Jet to really recover itself, and that is if it recovers and if steps are taken now, then we are looking at 36 months for them to really come back to what they were in all their glory. So yes, the next couple of weeks in terms of who comes in and I think just a point that I want to raise here, we need a focused player with Jet Airways. We can't have someone who's nonchalant and looking at it as a by-the-way acquisition like Etihad is at the moment. And I'm a little disappointed with Etihad's stance, because since they've been part of the partnership for the last 3-4 years, if there's anyone who knows what needs to be done with Jet, is them. And for them to come with a very nonchalant, non-committal bid is quite disappointing.
Task is very, clearly cut out at this point of time now for SBI and the lenders consortium. But given how the response has been last time, there was only one serious bidder, two unsolicited bids. This time around now, Etihad is saying they want to only pick up a limited amount of stake in the company and infuse just about 1,700 crore rupees. How is it that, this time around, the course that SBI will take will be different, given that they're now reaching a desperate situation?
Let's face it. The last, it's SBI who's got Jet into this position at the moment. SBI stood back silently and watched lessors take away the fleet of Jet was very, very, it wasn't expected. The least they could have done is put some money up and got the fleet to be retained. So that clearly didn't happen. And Etihad should have at least covered some amount of initial working capital to keep the airline afloat, because I think that was the mandate for SBI to get in the first place. So SBI didn't keep up to its promise with Jet, and that's very unfortunate. But I think let's not cry over spilt milk. Let's move forward with this. And even we're hoping that Jet finds a buyer who still believes in the value it has. And let's face it, Jet has value. They are sitting on routes. They have an MRO. They have spares worth millions of dollars, spare engines, APUs. So there still is something to buy in Jet. And I would completely back that as a stable logic. And I don't think there's anything that comes as a counter to that,
When you just talk about that, just one last question, that, the slots are getting filled, people are getting used to different airlines, people are going into different airlines. So don't you think it will be very difficult or very time-consuming process, even if it has value?
Yeah, that's a very valid question. But historically, if you look at it, India has always had space for a full-service airline. We had Kingfisher, we had an Indian Airlines that became an Air India, we had Jet Airways. So and on the flip side, there still is market for business jets. We still have our business jet fleet is almost 530 private jets, including helicopters in India. So value added services when it comes to travel, we have a market in India, thankfully. Especially now on specific to the jet, I think it's 26 years of a brand legacy that's built on hospitality is what Jet stands for. Eventually, let's be clear, we're just buying a seat, whether that seat is red, green, blue, black. It's just travel. It's air transport you're buying for. But it's the package you get when you buy the seat is what you pay for, right? And I think that package is what Jet perfected over the last 26 years of its existence. And I think that's what creates a lot of value. It's what it brings to the table. So I'd like to be optimistic about this, and I do hope somebody shows up, knight in shining armor on a horse or a BMW or a Land Rover or a camel. I mean, whoever comes in, let's hope that Jet finds a good suitor and comes back on its feet.
All right, Mark, great chatting with you. Thank you so much for sharing with us your perspective.